Great. So, really excited to talk about alternatives and honestly provide a better understanding of GLP-1. I, most of you know this, functionally or traditionally trained registered dietitian turned functional dietitian over the course of my health journey and of how I've really desired to help people. So when I was going to school, GLP-1s were newer on the market. And I was honestly a huge fan of them. I love the idea behind, well, and I guess that's not shocking, right? Because the idea behind GLP-1, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, is it's a naturally occurring enzyme within your body. And so in my mind, as we're putting diabetics on this or recommending it to diabetics if they're a candidate for it, and that's what GLP-1 was designed for originally, it seems like such a good idea to try to enhance something the body naturally is wanting to or trying to use and do. But now that I'm in the holistic health space of the body is not turning on or firing those GLP-1s for a reason. We need to figure out why that is instead of just supplementing it to try to get the outcome. And for many people, the desired outcome is weight loss. So really looking at targeting how exactly to do this is something of a bit of an obsession of mine, as you've known with my blood sugar obsession lately. So let's dig into it without further ado. So what are GLP-1s? GLP-1 stands for glucagon-like peptide, nothing fancy at all. It's a hormone naturally released within the body and within the gut in response to food. It signals fullness to the brain and slows down stomach emptying. It helps the pancreas release insulin when glucose is present in the blood. So, of course, when we're looking in the grand scheme of like skinny pills, anything that signals fullness to the brain and slows down digestion is going to keep you more satisfied, both neurologically more satisfied and intestine-wise more satisfied because it's slowing this down. So it plays a key role in appetite regulation, blood sugar balance, and weight maintenance. And everyone is talking about GLP-1. It seems to be just the hot topic these days. Again, this is like Ozempic, Wegovy. They have so many oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Name brand um versions of this as well. But again, like I mentioned, it was originally developed for type 2 diabetes management. It mimics the GLP-1, your natural GLP-1 glucagon-like peptide to suppress appetite and improve insulin function. Off-label, which almost everyone is using it for now, is the use for rapid weight loss. Now, I will say it's important to recognize, like I have mentioned in the previous talks that I have given, 88% of people have some type of metabolic dysfunction. Those 88% of people don't have the same type of metabolic function, but they have some type of metabolic dysfunction. And so even though the off-label use is for rapid weight loss, it's in essence probably providing more of a rationale or more of a reason for these people's metabolic dis-ease to be a little bit more buffered because they're getting this glucagon-like peptide, which is providing all of these amazing benefits. Like we said, it's a naturally occurring hormone released from the gut. It talks to the brain. It says, I'm full. I don't need to have a ton of cravings, slows down stomach emptying, helps the pancreas release more insulin. This is why I loved it for type 2 diabetes. It was basically just helping the pancreas along, releasing its own insulin. Instead of supplementing insulin, to me, this was a more of a root cause approach until you do a little more research on GLP-1 and what it is in the body and then why it's not working. So again, all of these things, in my opinion, often trace back to stress. If the body and if your cravings are not coming from actually being hungry, but from mineral deficiencies, from high stress output, from your cortisol being too high for too long, and you're not doing anything to fix that, your body is still having that chronic inflammatory response, which is leading to dangerous realities and side effects from GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. Side effects of them immediately: nausea, vomiting, gallbladder issues, hair loss, muscle wasting. These are ones we see about often. Coming out now is different types of cancer and the carcinogenic effect of these synthetic GLP-1s. Now, again, is it the synthetic GLP-1, or is it the combination of the GLP-1 pharmaceutical in correlation with not actually fixing the root of the problem? That will probably take more time to figure out, but I have a feeling that it's a little bit of both. So it's not addressing the root causes like hormone imbalance, gut health, blood sugar dysregulation, and what the core is in that person's life that could be contributing to those things. So of course, in my mind, my preference is to mimic and not to medicate. Your body is already making GLP-1. You just have to support it. Pharmaceuticals, in any case, override the natural process. They don't retrain the body. They're not looking to fix the root cause. They're just doing the job. They're chemically inducing a natural process. They're chemically hijacking a natural process so that the body can get something done without actually doing the work to figure out why it's not doing that in the first place. Natural methods are safer, they're more sustainable, they support true metabolic healing, they support your root cause healing, root causes of weight gain, not just symptoms. So these strategies support energy, mood, digestion, and hormone balance, which is what a lot of people want with semaglutide. They want to feel healthier again, right? But there's a reason why their body is holding on to weight, if that's why they're doing it. There's a reason why their gut is not allowing this GLP-1 to be secreted. And getting to the root cause of that is going to help you for the long term, not just for the short-term gratification of why is my body not losing weight. I'm so thirsty today, so I apologize. I also want to reiterate that when you are taking care of, and people hate when I say this, and as someone who, for a large chunk of my, like not necessarily young adolescence, but young adult life, wanted to lose weight, struggled to lose weight, my body was in such an unhealthy place. It did not feel safe enough to do that. The liver is so smart. It's not going to take more toxins and dump them into a toxic gut. And my gut was extremely toxic, riddled with parasites, riddled with heavy metals. And so my body was simply trying to protect me, and fat and storage of excess toxins is protective to your gut. It's protective to your liver. And so people hate when they come in and their goal is weight loss. Yes, that will happen. It will happen, and it will happen naturally when we take care of your body to the root and to the core. And people don't love that answer. And I get it. As someone who struggled with that, I totally get it. But it's so critical to note your body is trying to protect you. So natural GLP-1 support works with nutrients and herbs. I'm on an herb kick too, that stimulate GLP-1 secretion from the gut L cells. Foods high in protein, fiber, and bitters help release GLP-1 naturally. Good gut health is essential. GLP-1 is a gut-derived hormone. Okay, like let's continue to continue to go back to that, because it's a gut-derived hormone, and if your gut is unwell, it's shutting this off. And your gut can be unwell for a number of reasons, right? And I've shared this as well, but if you have a gut that's high in yeast and candida, the gut communication that's happening within your microbiome is triggering you to crave more sugar. It's shutting down this GLP-1, and your cravings are geared towards feeding that microbiome what it wants to stay in that state of yeast overgrowth. So your gut health is quintessential for so many things, so many things. Hippocrates says all disease begins in the gut. And I think there's so much more to that the more and more that I do deep dives into various ailments within the body. Managing blood sugar reduces insulin resistance and increases GLP-1 sensitivity. Your body's just going to start to uptake stuff better. Things are going to work better. And lifestyle patterns like fasting, sleep, and stress also impact this hormone signaling. So let's dive into this one section at a time. Let's talk about nutritional support to start. Obviously, protein is a power player here. Protein stimulates GLP-1 and satiety hormones like PYY. PYY is peptide YY. It's a hormone that's made in your gut after you eat, especially protein and fat. It signals to your brain, hey, I'm full. And so it helps reduce your appetite as food is moving through your stomach, and protein and fat digest slower than carbohydrates. So again, naturally stimulating and mimicking GLP-1 by slowing down digestion, by letting the brain know, hey, I'm full. When you have protein in your diet and when you have adequate fat and minerals in your diet, your cravings will minimize, if not completely be removed. Your metabolism is going to boost in such an intentional way. Protein preserves that muscle mass that can be at risk, I would say, during fat loss. Anytime you're losing weight, it's not always just going to be fat. So the more that you can focus on adequate protein, the less you're going to also lose muscle, and you're going to preserve that muscle, because muscle is driven by protein and driven by amino acids. Those are the building blocks for muscles. So if you have those muscles, or if you have those amino acids and that protein in your diet, the muscle is not going to waste as intentionally is not the right word. The muscle is not going to waste as like haphazardly as if you would not have protein in it. Aiming for 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, especially at breakfast. For those of you that are trying to lose weight, at least 25 grams of protein with each meal. Capping it at 30, you don't want to cause excess stress on the kidneys as you're actively trying to lose weight. But for healthy individuals, younger women, especially if you're in a more catabolic state, so pregnancy or breastfeeding, at least 30 to 40 grams of protein, especially at breakfast. It's going to set the tone for your blood sugars for the rest of the day. Great sources: eggs, fish, beef, bone broth, clean protein powders, just ingredients. One of my favorites. I recently tried the Truvani. Gosh, it sounds wrong now that I'm saying it out loud. It's at Whole Foods, and the Instagrammer who made it's the Food Babe. It's good. I like just ingredients better. I like the mouthfeel of just ingredients better. I think that it's a texture thing for me. So when it comes to protein powders, I like that. And then standard process, of course, I love. Theirs are not necessarily a protein powder, SP Complete, or the SP Detox Balance. I actually normally mix with protein as well, but really provides good gut health support as well. So just kind of an all-in-one way to support the gut and support the body and get enough protein. I love bitters. I love bitters. I love bitters so much. Bitter compounds stimulate digestive secretion. So that's going to enhance your gut health, because your digestive secretions and enzymes within your gut help maintain a healthy pH and balance within the gut, so that digestion can happen as efficiently, not necessarily rapidly, but efficiently as God designed our bodies to do. And they also enhance GLP-1 release. Prebiotic fibers nourish gut bacteria and enhance GLP-1 signaling. Bitters include dandelion, artichoke, gentian, citrus peel. Love bitters. Arugula is another bitter. Cabbage. Prebiotic foods like garlic, leeks, asparagus, green banana flour, and flax seeds are also easy things to add in. Prebiotics give the probiotics what they need to stay and maintain health, and for digestive processes to work the way that they're supposed to, which also optimize blood sugar and digestion pace. So taking bitters before a meal or adding some of these prebiotic foods to smoothies or salads can be really, really helpful. Again, this is why I like SP Complete. It has prebiotic elements in it, which anything you can do to make getting these things in easier and less of a chore, very, very, very helpful. This is also why, if you've ever seen this hack on social media or YouTube or whatever, where people will take citrus peel, like a full slice of orange, including the peel, and sprinkle cinnamon and maybe one other thing on it. I'd have to look it up, and they eat the whole thing, and it's supposed to be this great cure for constipation. That's because it has the prebiotic fibers and it has bitters to secrete and enhance digestion, and get your bowels regulated. So kind of a cool hack. I don't know if I'd ever do it, but I don't struggle with constipation. So if I did, maybe I would. Another really great option is apple, not papple, apple cider vinegar and fermented foods. I can fix this really quick. Actually, I have it up. Um, so apple cider vinegar, especially raw, non-pasteurized, slows gastric emptying. It helps with having longer satiety. It's going to stabilize your blood sugar. Apple cider vinegar can slightly increase GLP-1 and insulin sensitivity, but also it just really primes the gut and enhances digestive juices and properties, similar to other fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, miso, real fermented pickles. Not every pickle is a good pickle, which is unfortunate for the pickle lovers out there. I am one of them. But again, just like with any fermented food and apple cider vinegar raw from the mother, it's not going to have as much sugar as like a kombucha, depending on the type of kombucha you're getting. Um, if you have histamine issues, you're going to want to tread with caution around fermented foods. So just, I always like to plug that in there because if you're eating these fermented foods that are supposed to be good for you and you're feeling worse, it's likely a sign that you have some histamine intolerance, enzymatic insufficiency, the DAO enzyme, which helps regulate histamine, or your liver is stressed. You're living in an environment that's increasing histamine reactions within your body, etc. So again, there's another reason you're going to have to get to the root of that. But I love to add in fermented foods. I shoot for 3 a day. That's always my goal. And apple cider vinegar is a clutch one for if you're like, I don't want to eat another spoonful of sauerkraut. I love sauerkraut and I'll never turn it down. But just an additional option. I did some apple cider vinegar when I was doing my blood sugar, 10-day blood sugar stabilization program, and I did not have a spike in my blood sugar when I was monitoring it, which I thought was really cool. Versus kombucha, depending on the type, is a little sweeter and it will have more of an impact on your blood sugar. Not necessarily causing a spike out of the ideal glycemic range, but just having a greater impact. How much apple cider vinegar, Jamie's asking ratio wise. I leave that up to the person. I would generally do like a tablespoon or 2. A tablespoon is 1 great serving. 2 tablespoons is what you hear the most of. And you can do apple cider vinegar. You can mix it with a little bit of honey if you're prone to some digestive discomfort, and just your typical like 8 ounces of water. If you want to get it over with like a shot, I would still consider mixing it with at least 4 ounces of water so that you have something to kind of rinse your mouth out with, so that that acid's not hitting your teeth straight on the teeth. Magnesium, you know we love it. Magnesium has such a critical role in over 300 of the body's processes. It supports insulin sensitivity and blood sugar balance as one of those things. Low magnesium can lead to increased cravings and impaired glucose clearance from the blood. Chromium and zinc both support insulin and GLP-1 production. Berberine mimics metformin and helps improve insulin and gut microbiomes. So I love magnesium. I even if someone is not sure if they're low or if their serum levels say they're in range, it's just so important to have in the high stress world that we live in. So I'm always a huge proponent of getting adequate magnesium. Food sources of magnesium: dark leafy greens, good cacao or dark chocolate, pumpkin seeds, really great sources. Chromium and zinc are really intentional additives or elements in the Diaplex from Standard Process supplement to help with GLP-1 support, to help with blood sugar regulation and preventing spikes. So I'm a huge fan of Diaplex from Standard Process if you're someone who struggles with your blood sugars versus a GLP-1 product. And then berberine is like nature's own GLP-1. It mimics metformin. It mimics these glucagon-like peptide enhancing elements. And so I love berberine. Berberine by itself in a MediHerb product is great. It's also in Metabol from MediHerb if someone's looking for more well-rounded support for the endocrine system. But berberine by itself, fantastic. A really great way to get that insulin working better, often prescribed for a natural route for PCOS or more of those hormone sensitive insulin issues. Again, 88% of people are dealing with some degree of metabolic issues. So it is really important to be aware of. And these things generally will not hurt you, but do you need all of them? That's where, utilizing and seeing where your body is at, where your fat storage is being held, what your hormones are doing can be really helpful for you to figure out what you need in the most intentional way. Lifestyle, love lifestyle. So important, so important, so important. Strength training and cold exposure. Let's talk about both of these just at one time. Resistance training improves insulin sensitivity and glucose uptake. It helps regulate your appetite. It helps maintain lean mass while losing fat, especially if your protein is on point. And GLP-1 increases post-exercise, especially after strength workouts, which I think is so beautiful and so intentional. It's really helping the body naturally regulate its own mass, which is so intentional by God. It's so cool. You would think that your hunger is going to increase and your satiety is going to decrease, but in fact, the body is being really intentional with its metabolism when you are able to trigger it with this strength training. Cold exposure, I'm a big fan of contrast therapy, showers or plunges can increase metabolic rate and increase dopamine. Pairing it with movement helps that fat burning and mood. Cold exposure also helps trigger a deeper anti-inflammatory effect within the fat cells. And so a lot of people who have routine cold exposure, for women done at the appropriate time in their cycle, for men, they can do it all the time. They're going to have a greater instance of brown fat, which is healthier fat and healthy adipose tissue, as opposed to adipose tissue in the visceral fat or stomach area, which is not brown fat. It's not supporting your hormones in an intentional way. It's just storage of those excess hormones and toxins. So cold exposure, the instance of cold exposure and lean mass developing through the duration of cold exposure has been linked time and time again, especially as it's becoming more and more of I don't want to say fad because it's such a great thing, but it's catching stride and more people are wanting to do it. So there's reason behind that. I'm a big proponent of talking about how the body runs on rhythms. Sleep and circadian rhythms are huge regulators for the rest of the rhythms in your body. That's your hormone cycles, that's your metabolic cycles, etc. So ensuring that your sleep is where it needs to be is so important because it's going to make sure your GLP-1 fires on all cylinders. If you are not sleeping, your body's going to slow down the gut. It's going to slow down your ghrelin. It's going to increase your ghrelin, which is that hunger hormone, and it's going to help you try to make up for not detoxing or not allowing the body to rejuvenate through sleep by trying to offset it with increased cravings, which makes no sense, but it's just striving to find balance. Inconsistent sleep disrupts insulin and cortisol balance. Prioritizing 7 to 9 hours of adequate sleep for mamas in the postpartum phase. This is 8 to 10 at minimum. Morning sunlight and blue light blockers at night help improve this rhythm, and creating a routine that helps you wind down to better support your hormones and decrease that cortisol before bed is really, really, really critical, obviously, because cortisol and stress play such a huge role in insulin resistance and elevated blood sugar. Chronic stress increases your blood sugar over time because your cortisol is high. And what your cortisol is doing is it's telling your body you're running from a bear. And what do you need to run from a bear? You need all the immediate energy you can. And that's what sugar is. It's immediate energy. And so this creates insulin resistance because the body is saying, I need this glucose-free floating. I don't want it to uptake in my cells as much as intentionally as it can and should. And so this insulin resistance starts to fight against, or this insulin resistance starts to come from the body fighting against breaking down and utilizing that glucose in the most intentional way. High cortisol lowers your GLP-1 and increases your cravings to keep that sugar high. Stress blocks weight loss even when the diet is clean. I've done so much on cortisol, but it is just so important to note that if you're fighting a cortisol battle, you have to stop everything else that you're doing and focus on lifestyle and what is triggering that cortisol in the first place. And I've said it 1,000 times as someone who also lives a higher stress life, you can get yourself out of any situation. You can. And that's my encouragement for everybody. It might not be easy and it might not be fast. So you're going to need to implement tools along the way, but you have the power to change the reality that you're living in. And if you think that you don't, you need to work on your brain to get to a place where you can. Daily tools to help. Prayer, breath work, walking, adaptogens can be really, really helpful, which I'll touch more on. In the next one, I'll go more specifically, but like ashwagandha, rhodiola, those are really going to help your adrenals, which are a key player when it comes to stress and cortisol, but they're also a key player in your circadian rhythm. So that's why these things are so related. Your hypothalamus and your pituitary get that morning light, and they say to your adrenals, hey, it's time to get up for the day. It's time to get going. Let's get some cortisol in so we have what we need to get our gumption going for the day. Cortisol is not always a bad thing, but the level at which we live with it in our lives is. So the other thing I really like to do is just build in micro resets. 5 minutes of deep breathing, stretching, of a block in your calendar where you literally just stop and do nothing. For the high stress person, this seems like impossible. Where am I going to fit in 5 minutes? Start with 5, go to 10, and then maybe eventually you'll work your way to 15. This is such a really intentional time that I use 2 times throughout my day to make sure that I can actively reset and figure out what are my top priorities to get done through the rest of the day. So I'll usually do like a mid-morning reset around maybe 9:15. And then I'll try to do another one around like 1 o'clock. So I'll do one after this to see, okay, I've accomplished a lot today. And as I'm breathing through, just trying to think about doing nothing, just letting my body relax. Innately, there are things that bubble up in your mind that you're going to want to get done so that you can adequately set a boundary at the end of your day and not have to revisit work once you're home. And so that's always, been so helpful for me to figure out what I might not know is my top priority to get done, but what my brain and my subconscious is telling me, like, this is what's going to bug you tonight if you don't handle it now. So I really am a big fan of those micro resets. And let's just talk about gut and hormone support to really drive this home. Gut health is key, you guys. Again, GLP-1 is produced in the gut. Supporting your microbiome in an intentional way is absolutely critical. Gut inflammation or leaky gut can reduce GLP-1 response. Dysbiosis within the gut, again, those organisms are talking, so they're going to increase cravings. This is going to lead to high highs, low lows with your blood sugars, exacerbating that hangry feeling, mood swings, hormonal swings, insulin resistance. It's no good. It is no good to have a gut that is not on your side when it comes to healing. And so many people want to speed that process up, and I don't blame them. But your gut heals, it does heal very, very, very efficiently in the right conditions. It's just so important to know that it's been in the wrong conditions for a long time, and give yourself and your gut so much grace. Tools that can help: probiotics, again, bitters, fermented foods, as long as you don't have histamine intolerances. Gut cleansing can also be really helpful. Full moon cleanses can be really helpful. Considering stool testing or muscle testing for deeper gut assessment can be really helpful. Standard Process has an easy $120 gut swab. I actually just did it for my youngest daughter because her skin is so sassy, and I've been doing all the muscle testing. And I think I know what it is, but I want that validation. So I'm really excited to get that back. And for a tiny human who can't really talk, it's going to be really a cool thing to assess. That's the microbiome test from Standard Process. Easy peasy. Really sensitive to fungal elements, which can drive some of those sugar cravings and insulin sensitivities even more than parasites. Hormones and insulin sensitivity. So estrogen enhances GLP-1. Low estrogen may decrease satiety. And in conjunction with this, excess estrogen slows down GLP-1 as well, because the gut is bogged down. And the estrobiome within the gut, if it's not digesting properly within the lower part of that gut, which is why I talk about getting 30 grams of fiber in a day, can also decrease that GLP-1 activity. Thyroid and adrenal function directly impact metabolism and hunger. Again, I've talked about this with just stress and the way that your body handles stress and the way that it needs sugar around stress. The more stressed you are, the more sugar you're going to crave, the less in control you're going to feel. And it's not fun. That's not fun. Insulin resistance blunts GLP-1's effects, and it leads to blood sugar crashes. You're bottoming out. You're feeling like crap. It's not fun. Cycle syncing, stress regulation, and healthy fats all support this hormonal rhythm. They're decreasing the inflammation within your gut. and they're really helping your gut to get excess estrogen out, trigger GLP-1 secretion in a really intentional way, and impact your metabolism in a really intentional way as well. This lab testing can help identify some of those hidden imbalances if you feel like you've been fighting this fight for a really long time. That gets old. So let's put it all together. What's a good natural daily flow for this? Start your day with a high protein meal. You can start your day with apple cider vinegar. I usually like doing eggs and sauerkraut and meat for my day. To start my day almost every day. For some people, maybe it's boring, but I literally just love it. And then if it's not walkable weather, getting morning sunlight in your eyes, wearing blue light blocking glasses until the sun comes up, and then just getting outside. Maybe one of your micro breaks is right around that sunrise time, and you can get out in the sunlight for 5 to 10 minutes and really just enjoy that as part of your routine. Midday, prebiotic fiber, protein, take bitters before meals. So what my midday looks like before lunch is I'm doing my standard process shake with more protein. So I'll add a scoop of just ingredients to that. I am taking my SP Cleanse product, which I'm obsessed with, which is giving my liver some love and support. It's giving me some bitters, and it's really just helping with my overall gut health throughout the day. And then I'll probably have lunch around like 1 or 2, which is normally around the time that I build in another micro break into my day. And then evening, early-ish dinner. So what I mean by that is don't be eating at like 7:30 p.m. That's not helping your gut. That's not helping your satiety. That's not helping giving your gut rest. Try to round out that dinner and be done eating around 7 o'clock so that you can really get your body primed for sleep and rest and digest. I like doing my resistance training in the evening. I think it's a really great way for my kids to see that I'm making my health a priority, and it just flows really nicely into my night. Obviously, I was putting my walking pad away and taking my weighted vest off as I was getting ready to start this today. This is not the only workout that I'm doing throughout my day, but I love just incorporating my walking into my day, into my routine, into my work when I can, which I love working from home for that reason. I have all my goodies here, including adaptogens or magnesium as needed. So let's talk some of my top adaptogens for stress, as well as GLP-1 support that are just really going to help, especially if you're intentionally trying to get this GLP-1 firing a little bit more in your gut to help you reach your goals that you want, helping your body adapt to stress instead of gaslighting it and restoring balance. So they're going to help support your adrenals, reduce cortisol, and indirectly boost your metabolism and hunger regulation because you're handling the root cause of the dysbiosis for your GLP-1. Ashwagandha is very calming. It supports the thyroid, it supports the thyroid through supporting the adrenals, and it naturally lowers your cortisol. Rhodiola is another really, really good one. That's an adaptogen that helps. It's a little bit more energizing than calming. It's going to improve your mental clarity and stamina. So for people that are in this space where their cortisol is probably high as well as their melatonin, so they're feeling wired and tired, I actually like rhodiola because that wired, tired feeling is a sign that your body is inappropriately secreting melatonin at the wrong times of the day, trying to put you to sleep so that the stress goes away. Rhodiola can provide the mental clarity when melatonin is trying to take that away with that groggy feeling that people get from melatonin. Holy basil is a really great bitter and herb that balances blood sugar and mood. Schisandra is liver support. It's gentle detoxification. It's very hormone balancing. It's gut support as well. I really like Schisandra, and there is a rhodiola and now I would trip it up on it. Rhodiola and Schisandra. I literally, you guys, it's such a tongue twister for me and it's embarrassing. Rhodiola and Schisandra from MediHerb. That is a great option paired together for both the adrenals and the liver if that's something that you're struggling with. I really like this for women with estrogen metabolism issues. I also really like this for men who are very stressed or work a high stress job and can't seem to outrun that stress and they're internalizing it. And then erythro is ginseng, and it's an adrenal tonic that improves stress resilience. It's going to help improve that cortisol that's being secreted. So kind of my favorite ones currently that I found to have really good clinical results. And then hydrating well with electrolytes and avoiding late night eating or absent-minded eating. One thing my kids hate is I just very, very, very rarely let them eat while watching TV. And at home, like if we're at a movie, that's a little different, right? But when we're at home, I don't want them to be absentmindedly eating because that's doing more damage in their body and our own bodies. If they do want to have a snack while watching a show, we try to be really mindful about a portion size. I do. I don't say that to them, but just making sure that it's not this mindless snacking, because that's going to set their body up to not be able to regulate their hunger and satiety hormones because they're not paying attention. They're paying attention to the movie, and the snack is excess dopamine because it's usually something fun that they don't normally get. And so if they're having that crunchy, salty, sweet snack while they're watching a show, their body is not able to, their brain is not listening to the body saying, I don't want any more of that. And it's gaslighting the natural satiety hormones, which eventually will just stop firing because their body and their gut is saying, I like that sugar and I want more of it. So recap and key takeaways. Your body can regulate hunger and burn fat with the right support. Protein, fiber, and bitters are your GLP-1 besties. Make sure you're prioritizing your gut. That's going to help your hormones. That's going to help your blood sugar. Over calorie counting, over restriction, over macros, over micros. Make your gut health a priority. And lifestyle trumps quick fixes every single time. GLP-1 drugs cannot fix root cause dysfunction. You're not broken. Your body is not broken. It's likely under supported, or there's something that's taking a while to heal, or something that's missing. And there's always tools available for you to have in order to do that. So GI map to assess gut microbiome and inflammation. Through Vibrant America, we offer the GI, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking on what it's called. I should have put it in the notes. Gut Zoomer. I mentioned the microbiome test from Standard Process, which is not nearly as expensive. I love to see what's going on in the microbiome. Muscle testing is very, very, very helpful. But if you've ever heard me talk about muscle testing, the body wants to handle what's screaming the loudest. And usually for a long time, unfortunately, that's parasites. And that does not mean that there's not an underlying issue with Candida or H. pylori that could be bubbling below the surface, that if you can handle those things in conjunction, they can work really, really beautifully to enhance outcomes and to get the gut stable more quickly. Saliva hormone testing to address adrenal and sex hormone dysfunction or dysregulation. Continuous glucose monitor for blood sugar insight and how things impact your body. Muscle testing for personalized herbal and nutrient support. Figuring out, okay, is it the adrenals? Is it the thyroid? Is it the liver? What do we need to really give love to? And consider working with a practitioner or a team is obviously so, so critical because you need a team. You don't need to outsmart your body. You just need to support it. Your body is intentional and capable of healing. Never forget that, especially when the journey gets long. Faith and functional strategies to help give you freedom from food obsession. If you are someone who has dealt with gut dysbiosis for a long time and high sugar cravings, it almost can sometimes feel like you're food obsessed or you don't have the wherewithal to say no. And that's not true. Your body's just been training you and training your brain to gaslight those hunger and satiety cues. And so utilizing fasting can be such a beautiful and intentional way to move beyond that. Don't chase weight loss, pursue wellness. Weight loss follows. People hate that, but it's so true. And you were made for thriving, not just surviving. And by really enhancing your gut health, you will get there. That is what I have for you today. Do you guys have any questions for me? I love all of these things. Blood sugar has just led me down this deep dive, and it's really so beautiful. So much of it starts in the gut, but the body as a whole was designed by God, right? So our hormones, our gut, our adrenals, our thyroid, we can look at them individually in each of these cases, but we still have to take a full body approach to healing because we are a full body. We're not just a gut. We're not just adrenals. We're not just our stress. And so that's where it can sometimes be overwhelming, but just allowing yourself to not lose sight of peace and to not lose sight of where you want your health to be is really critical. And just loving up on that gut can make such a huge difference. So Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am so glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. And I will see you again in a couple of weeks here, but big blessings.